Hello, welcome to Ted's Tiny Trucks. Thought I'd do a quick update on the Wraith. As I've had I've been able to do some work on it, not quite as much as I'd hoped, but better than nothing. So, we start with the obvious stuff. If I just tuck that out of the way for the moment. The chassis, or what's left of it. The killer bits are, obviously, you can see it's got stainless steel links front and rear now. I've put the C-hubs and knuckles on the rear axle, and I've upgraded the drive shafts so that they've got the axial universal joints in now. So that's the big bit, which is good. Everything was stripped, re-greased, put back together, and it's gone together lovely. I did start on working on the transmission quickly after that. So my original plan was to use the 87 tooth pinion. So when I'd read about the Wraith and protecting the transmission and particularly the motor, the suggestion was to use a sort of 14 tooth pinion and a 87 tooth spur gear. So I bought those, and then on taking mine apart I discovered that the Wraith Spawn has a different slipper gear arrangement and spur gear to the normal Wraith, and unfortunately the gear that I bought doesn't fit. So I looked at replacing the top shaft and effectively converting this gearbox back to a Wraith spec gearbox, so that would have a single slipper clutch on it rather than a dual slipper clutch, and that would allow me to use this spur tooth and pinion. And then when I actually got to looking a bit closer, you notice that the recommended one, or the potential upgrade, is thinner than the standard one in the Wraith Spawn. So this is a 48p, this is a 32p. So the teeth are noticeably larger and I assume much stronger. And one of the other problems is that there's a much more limited range of tooth sizes available for this particular style of spur gear. Now, the main reason for putting it in was actually to protect the motor. When I added up the cost of converting the top shaft and spur gear, it came to about 26 quid. Well, you can just buy a new motor for less than that. Something like a basic axial 35 turn can be had for sort of 12 to 15 quid. But I've actually decided this time to do a Hackmoto 5-pole 16 turn motor, which should be the equivalent of a 35 turn motor, and that delivered probably going to come in at about 21 quid. So it's slightly cheaper, and the benefit is I get to keep the slightly larger spur gear and stronger teeth. Of course, the next disaster was I took the transmission apart while I was investigating this and found out that the centre gear that sits here in the transmission hasn't been moulded properly. So as I was spinning it over, I could feel that there was a tight spot, and I'll flash a picture up on the screen now which shows that the teeth haven't been moulded properly. So if you look at the teeth at the 12 o'clock position, you can see that not only are they slightly fatter and square at the top, but they're also actually not deep enough. So although I've had a quick play in terms of trying to reshape those, I still can't get it to run nicely. So what I've done instead is buy a set of all metal upgrades for the inside of the transmission, and therefore hoping to eliminate the weak point and just swallowing the extra cost. I mean, I could have bought, I suppose I could have tried getting replacements off Axial or buying separate ones, but they're probably a tenner for the pair inside. But to be honest, I think if I'm going to make it an ultimate crawler with 2.2s on, really I might as well just put metal gears in now and save me the hassle of potentially stripping something while I'm out having a play. So really, we've kind of gone a few steps back, so I'm waiting for parts, so unfortunately I can't actually finish the chassis. In terms of the body, well, I've ordered a cheapie off eBay light bar to go across the front here, and the plan is to shorten the two posts that stick out the front, put a bracket on the back, and actually have a light bar which is recessed into the front. Stickers will come off this. Paint colour, I'm coming up with a candy red over sort of maybe flip-flop silver and grey, but we'll have to see how we go with that. I change my mind on a fairly frequent basis. And in terms of the actual roll cage assembly itself, nothing yet. All I've done is taken off the receiver box. The battery box is in there. it might be quite a convenient place to put some of the electronics, but then it'll be massively oversized, so I think I'll take that out, and I'm going to go for the firm battery down the front here. So I shall see if I can either adapt this battery box, or I've got a spare one out of one of my SCX 10.2s when I converted that to a layover battery, so I'll see if I can adapt that to fit and give me a secure location just to drop the 3 cells in then. I did treat myself to a new set of Wrangler MTR tyres. It was one of those where eBay were doing one of their 10% off anything deals this week, and RC Bits is on there. Martin's a lovely bloke, got a great range of stuff, and actually these tyres, I mean, if you look at, this is what the kit wheel comes like, so yeah, it's not bad. It is a Ripsaw tyre, but I don't think it's the soft compound. So although the part number matches what they say is a soft compound, it feels like a hard plastic. I think it will probably be okay on the mud. It's got a reasonable amount of groove size in it, so there's a fair chance it'll clear out, and it might be okay on rough rock. But going to Bradgate, which is where I do most of my rock crawling side of things, the rocks there are fairly slippy and fairly smooth, so I'm hoping that this, which is a much softer compound, it's a much softer tyre in general, will prove better on the rocks. We'll see what the mud's like on it. It's a strange design, it's asymmetric, and it's not asymmetric left hand and right hand, it's just asymmetric. So I've set mine up to do larger treads on the outside, both left and right. I've no idea whether actually you should run them effectively that way, left and right, or that way. So we'll give it a go and we'll see what the fallout is. I think that's about it for the project as it stands at the moment, to be honest. It's a waiting game. I've got to paint the servos as they'll be plainly visible when hanging off the front end, mounted in mid-air on this point here. Having a bright blue servo hanging out the front is probably not ideal, and given I've actually got a bit of time now before I can crack on, I suspect I'll take the links off and have a go at painting them black, make them a bit less obvious in general. I've inserted, have I got that? Easy to find. Yeah, so the centres of the drive shafts have been filled. I'm not sure if you can see that there. So I've found some hexagonal steel, which was a good fit down the inside. That's been pushed in with a load of epoxy to glue it in place. That should stop the centre part of these drive shafts collapsing in on themselves and give me an extra bit of useful life before worrying about upgrades. I've got an awful lot of spare parts left over. There's dog bones not needed for the front, there's cups, there's bags of links, I've got the original crown gear and pinion for the rear axle, so I think I'm going to be having a big eBay session and see if I can raise some funds back. Something else to crack on with. Oh yeah, and a set of steering links, because I've cunningly discovered they don't actually transfer onto the rear because the pumpkins are offset on the same side throughout the vehicle, which is a bit of a pain. So back into the workshop to make a pair of those once I've ordered some grub screws to go with the rod ends that I've got. So as you can see, I've moved forward slightly and it will probably move back. So short of the fact that everything's in pieces, technically it feels like I'm about where I used to be. Okay, well, I think that brings us up to date. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.